I'm Haley, currently 25 years old, residing in Salt Lake City with my parents. I had been married to my now ex-husband for 2 years. Our marriage was somewhat arranged, as our families had been members of the same church for years. Justin and I had known each other since high school, although we were never close friends. After he returned from college, our fathers thought we would be a good match, and we got married after only 4 months of dating. Initially, I didn't know how to love a guy who had never shown interest in me before, but I tried my best. Unfortunately, I succeeded in loving him. Even though it was clear that he was never in love with me, he fulfilled his husbandly duties and was never unkind, so I just accepted the situation. I'd even found happiness for a while, but suddenly, he felt he couldn't continue. One morning, feeling a bit unwell, I asked Justin to take me to the doctor. He refused, claiming he was busy and suggested I take some medicine and rest. This hurt me, and I even shed some tears. I followed his advice, but my condition didn't improve. Eventually, I took the car keys and drove myself to the hospital. It took a while for the doctor to reveal the diagnosis. I was pregnant. I cried tears of joy on my way home, eagerly anticipating Justin's reaction to the news. I selected baby clothes and soft toys to surprise him, planning to capture his reaction for social media. Upon arriving home, I found the house locked. Using my key, I entered, wondering where he could be at such a late hour. Just as I was about to call him, I noticed papers on the living room table. There was a stack of stamped papers that I immediately recognized as divorce papers. Next to them was a letter explaining that he could no longer continue, as he had fallen in love with another woman who was waiting for him. He had tried to start anew with me but couldn't find the same love, so he was leaving. Justin wanted nothing more to do with me, asking me to sign the divorce papers and receive compensation from his lawyer in a few days. He had also sold our house, and he left me with only a small sum of money. I am now 6 months pregnant, and just yesterday, I received a call from Justin for the first time in the past 6 months. He informed me that this month would be the last time he would send me compensation money, and that he wouldn't be sending any more. He didn't inquire about my well-being, my living situation, or if I was okay. In turn, I decided not to share anything with him. I chose not to reveal that I was carrying his baby. I believe he doesn't deserve to know. My parents argue that this is unfair to him and that I should inform him, but I refuse. I won't tell a man who couldn't even care about my life and well-being that I'm carrying his child. He led me to despair, and if my child suffers the same fate, it's his responsibility. I doubt he would care enough to return. My parents have been supportive, but not understanding. They believe I could use my pregnancy to lure Justin back, but I refuse to resort to such tactics. I cherish my parents. They've stood by me unwaveringly. My father even severed his long-standing friendship with Justin's father upon learning what he did to me. He was ready to confront him, but my mother and I stopped him. Despite their support, I still feel like a burden. I'm 26 now, and relying on them doesn't sit right with me. 3 months after Justin left, I found work as a receptionist to make ends meet. It's not much, but it's my first proper job, and the little I earn helps me find solace at night. I've been keeping an eye on Justin, even though I know I have no right to do so anymore. He has gone back to his college girlfriend, a tall, pretty lawyer. I can understand why he couldn't get over her, especially considering me. They're now engaged. It didn't take him a year to break our marriage and promise another girl a wedding ring. The night I saw her engagement announcement on her Instagram story, I cried myself to sleep. After months of attempting to move on, I broke down again. I loved him, and he left me without a second thought, simply because he believed he had a better option. Now I'm left with his child, a secret he knows nothing about. I wonder, if I tell him, would he come back? Am I wrong for keeping his baby a secret from him? Hey, everyone. I haven't updated you in a while, but your positive comments have truly helped me feel less alone and miserable. After my last update, I made a conscious decision to stop dwelling on my ex-husband. I wanted to move forward for my own well-being, my family, and my little boy. Yes, I gave birth to a baby boy who will be turning 5 in a few months. A lot has changed over the years. I no longer live with my parents but in a house I purchased with my hard-earned money, aided by a little help from the bank. I worked tirelessly, climbing the ranks from a receptionist to eventually becoming the manager of the inn where I started. After my son was born, nothing else mattered. I still miss having a partner to share the love for my child, but I couldn't envision that with anyone else. Love lost its appeal. I just wanted to focus on taking care of my baby and find happiness within my family. Justin's absence became a part of my life, so when he suddenly reappeared years later, I was taken aback. I was returning home from work one day when I found him standing in front of my parents' house. His face lit up when he saw me, and I felt like I was losing my mind. He looked just the same. I noticed his car parked nearby, and he was alone. I offered an awkward smile and a wave, and he greeted me with an awkward hug. He asked how I was doing, but before I could respond, my son, Ronan, ran up to me, calling out, "Mom," and hugged my leg. I lifted Ronan into my arms, and Justin's eyes widened as he looked at my baby. He blurted out, "You're married." I gave him a pointed look and replied, "I'm not, but he is," gesturing to Ronan. Justin confessed that he was no longer with Camilla, and I simply said, "Good for you," trying to walk away. He stopped me and asked the question I had been dreading, if the boy in my arms was his. I felt cornered. I had to answer. So, I admitted that he was indeed his child. Justin looked at me with a sense of betrayal, his eyes welling up with tears as he asked why I hadn't told him, why I hadn't called him, making him believe he had no child. I had no words. I just stood there. Seeing him broken like that, I regretted not telling him, not revealing the truth, and keeping it a secret to punish him for the pain he had caused me for leaving me. I felt like an awful person. I have a loving family now. There was a time when I felt like I was trapped in hell and thought I'd never escape it. But life has transformed into a heavenly experience, and I'm profoundly grateful for it. God truly works in mysterious ways, and if one maintains faith, it's never in vain. The three of us, Justin, Ronan, and I, have become the perfect little family I had always dreamed of. Justin returned to Utah after learning about Ronan. He earnestly begged for my forgiveness, acknowledging that choosing Camilla over a woman who loved him so much was the worst mistake of his life. Camilla, on the other hand, had been starting a new family and suggested an open marriage, which ultimately led to their divorce. Justin came back to me. I know it may seem a little pathetic to take him back after all he put me through, but as a woman, I seized every opportunity for a chance at a happy ending. Despite everything, I still love him because I never stopped loving him. When I began sharing my story here, I was feeling incredibly lonely. It felt like there was nothing in the world harder than my life, and I had an overwhelming need to release my emotions. Unfortunately, I couldn't find anyone who truly cared, so I decided to share my story here and ask if I deserved what had happened to me. All your kind thoughts and support carried me through the tough times, and I'll forever be grateful for them. Thank you. To those who question my decisions, I understand your perspective, but life is complex, and we sometimes make choices others may not understand. I'm just doing what feels right for me. Now, let's switch to a different topic. This upcoming weekend, a group of my friends and I, all in our late 20s and early 30s, are planning to stay at my family's cabin. Two of my friends, Chad and Rebecca, have children, though not together. Chad's situation isn't a big issue because it's not his weekend to have his kids. They'll be with their mother. However, Rebecca encountered a problem when her sister couldn't watch her son due to unexpected circumstances. I sympathized and asked if she had an alternative sitter, to which she replied in the negative. She decided to bring her son along for the weekend. I explained that this weekend wasn't really kid-friendly. We planned on drinking and engaging in adult activities. Rebecca questioned why we needed to drink, suggesting it could still be a fun getaway for everyone, including her son. I firmly declined, pointing out that Chad wasn't bringing his kids either. She argued that he should bring them so they could all hang out together. I stood my ground, emphasizing that this trip was meant for adults without children. Frustrated, Rebecca asked if this meant she couldn't come. I responded that if she found a sitter, she was welcome to join us. She accused me of being unfair, insinuating that I was excluding her because she was a parent. She claimed that eventually, everyone else would have kids too. And then what would I do? I calmly stated that I would hang out alone, but she abruptly hung up on me. My concern wasn't solely about the child. It was Rebecca's tendency to alter plans to accommodate her son. I feared our trip would turn into a kid-friendly, alcohol-free event, disrupting our initial plans. For instance, during a festival we attended this summer, everything revolved around her son's preferences. When we suggested splitting up, so some of us could enjoy specific activities, she objected. Later, another friend called, questioning my decision to uninvite Rebecca. I explained my perspective, emphasizing that while I understood things happen, Rebecca consistently altered plans to suit her child. I argued that it wasn't fair for her to change the entire trip, and I stood by my decision. I don't believe I'm in the wrong here. It's my family cabin, and I have the responsibility to ensure everyone's safety and comfort. Allowing an unplanned child in such a setting poses legal risks and complications. I suggest having an honest conversation with the friend group, expressing our desire to stick to the initial plans. Rebecca is welcome to join, provided she finds suitable childcare for her son. It's not about excluding her. It's about maintaining the trip's original purpose and respecting everyone's choices. People need to understand that becoming a parent changes one's lifestyle, and it shouldn't force others to adjust theirs to accommodate them. I won't be bullied into hanging out with other people's kids, and I'm firm in my decision. I'm a 19-year-old woman, and I moved out of my family home today. I'm the oldest of 6 siblings, and I live with my parents and brothers. Growing up, I was expected to babysit my siblings, take care of them, and handle many chores, while my brothers were exempt from any responsibilities. Despite my parents' resistance, I pursued my education and applied for independent financing to attend university. On the moving day, when my parents and siblings were out, I packed my belongings, left a prepared letter, and discreetly departed for my university town. I had to leave secretly because they wouldn't have allowed me to go. I received multiple calls from them, but I only answered once, and they yelled at me, demanding my return. I didn't disclose my address to them. When I shared my story with my flatmates, one of them called me an a-hole and suggested I give my parents my address. I'm unsure if I made the right decision. My flatmate criticized me, but I felt it was necessary to escape an abusive situation. I didn't tell them in advance because I knew they would stop me and disrupt my education. I believe I had the right to leave, but I'm now questioning if I was wrong for leaving suddenly. The responses I've received so far have reassured me that I made the right choice. My parents were using me for free labor, expecting me to quit school and work to help them raise my younger siblings. I deserved the chance to pursue my education and live my life without being burdened by their expectations. I answered their phone call to confirm I was safe, which was more than they deserved. I appreciate the advice to be cautious about sharing information and to ensure my location is secure. My new life is starting, and I am determined to make the most of this opportunity. Thank you all.